Negative exponents, the rule. So first of all, I'm going to tell you the rule on this one. When we do the rule, we have a to the negative b means 1 over a to the b power. For example, as you have 2 to the negative 1, it would be 1 over 2 to the first. Or 2 to the negative 2 would be 1 over 2 squared, which is 4. Okay? Now, why? Two different reasons. I'm going to give you two different explanations. If you have, let's see, x to the third over x to the fifth. X to the third is x times x times x. X to the fifth is x times x times x times x times x. Three of them cancel. What you're left with is 1 on the top and x squared on the bottom. Well, if you recall from topic 2, our exponent rules, 3 minus 5 is negative 2. So that would be x to the negative 2, which we know we got 1 over x squared. Okay? Another little explanation, if you have a to the fourth and you divide by a, 4 minus 1 is a cubed. Okay? If you have a cubed divided by a, 3 minus 1, you get a squared. Well, a squared divided by a, 2 minus 1 is a to the first. A to the first divided by a is 1, right? A over a is just 1. Well, which is also a to the 0, which is 1. That's another rule that we'll talk about. And then if you have a to the 0 divided by a, 0 minus 1 is a to the negative 1. Well, what we just discovered over here, a to the 0 is 1, so 1 over a equals a to the negative 1. Okay, so whenever you have a negative exponent, you basically move it to the denominator. Okay, so let's look at the next slide. I believe are some U-tries. So, yep, you try those. Now, okay, so we did talk about a to the 0. One other thing is, so you know that a to the 0 is 1. Anything to the 0 power is 1. Okay, anything to the 0 power is 1. So that's one thing you want to think about. You know, whether it's 5 to the 0, whether it's negative 251 to the 0, whether it's 5, a to the 5th, 4, y to the 4th, whatever, a to the 5th, y to the 4th, all to the 0, that is 1. Okay, anything to the 0 power is 1. Alright, so go ahead and try those U-tries. Take a second, and then we'll go on to the next slide. Okay, so on the next slide, we are going to recall some of our rules. X over y, so I'm over here. X over y to the n power, that was x to the n over y to the n, right? That power goes to each one. Same thing with the next one, that's power of a product, so x to the n, y to the n. When it's x to the n, that's power to a power, that's when we multiplied, n times m. And then x to the negative 2 would be 1 over x squared. Now, whenever we do these, now we are going to, the directions will say write with positive exponents only. Okay, write with positive exponents only, so you want to keep that in mind. Alright, so in the first example, this is now combining a lot of your rules into one. You have xy times, here, this 4 needs to go to each one. So you have 2 to the 4th. You have, x squared to the 4th, and you have y squared to the 4th. Now, that is going to be xy times 2 to the 4th, 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is 16. X squared to the 4th, 2 times 4 is x to the 8th, all over y 2 to the 4th, so y squared to the 4th, 2 times 4 is y to the 8th. Now you can combine 16, x times x to the 8th would be x to the 9th. And then we also have this y over y to the 8th. Well, in our division rules we did 1 minus 8 would be negative 7, but because it's a negative, where does it belong? Yeah, on the bottom. All right, so on the bottom you have y to the 7th. You could also think about that as in if you do 8 minus 1, that's a 7, and the bigger number's on the bottom, so leave it on the bottom. Okay, that's one way to look at it. All right, the next one, we can straight just add. Okay, x to the 5th, x to the negative 12, x to the 0. 5 plus negative 12 plus 0 is negative 7. And not okay to leave a negative exponent, so we then flip that. That becomes 1 over x to the 7th. Now, let me show you another way to do that. You have x to the 5th. You know that x to the negative 12 is 1 over x to the 12th. And then x to the 0, anything to the 0 is 1. So that gives you x to the 5th over x to the 12th. And that needs to be simplified. You take 5 out of each of them. 12 minus 5 would be 1 over x to the 7th. So the same thing either way. Okay, I think the next slide is doing some more examples. So, yep, more examples. Okay, so p times q to the negative 2 times r to the negative 3. So you have p, q to the negative 2 is 1 over q squared, and r to the negative 3 is 1 over r to the 3rd. Okay, so that means p is on the top. P times 1 is p. 1 times q squared times r cubed is q squared r cubed. Okay, 4/3 to the negative 4. First thing I'm going to do, anytime you have a fraction to a negative exponent, that negative exponent basically means you're going to do the reciprocal. Okay, so 4/3 to the negative 4 is equivalent to 3 over 4 to the 4th power. Okay, and then that 4th power carries to both. You have 3 to the 4th over 4 to the 4th. You can leave it like that. You can write it 3 to the 4th is 81. 4 to the 4th, I believe, is 256. So you can write it like that, but leaving it 3 to the 4th and 4 to the 4th is fine. Okay. The next one, we need to do some simplifying here. Now, the way that I attack these ones, anytime you have a negative exponent in a fraction, you move it. So if it's a negative exponent in the top, it moves to the bottom. If it's a negative exponent in the bottom, it moves to the top. So this s to the negative 3 is going to get moved to the top and become s to the 3rd. Okay, so then that's gone there. Now to simplify, 22 divided by 11 is 2. R cubed divided by r squared. 3 minus 2 is r to the 1st, so that stays right on the top. And then you have s squared times s cubed. 2 plus 3 is s to the 5th. Okay. So the next one, a couple different ways to do this one as well. Because I have a whole thing to a negative power, I am going to move that whole thing to the bottom. So I am going to write it as 1 over 2a to the negative 2b, all of that to the 3rd, times, and you still have your 5a squared b to the 4th. Okay. Now, this 3 goes to everything. So 2 cubed, 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. 8 to the negative 2 cubed, negative 2 times 3 is a to the negative 6, b cubed, times 5a squared b to the 4th. So now I'm combining them. 8 times 5 is 40. a to the negative 6a squared, negative 6 plus 2 is negative 4. b to the 3rd times b to the 4th is b to the 7th. So that's what's on the bottom. And then that whole thing. And then a to the negative 4 cannot stay there. That's got to move up to the top and become a to the 4th power. So I'm going to move up here. It's going to become a to the 4th over 40 b to the 7th. Okay, so to run through that one again, the first thing I did was deal with this negative 3 power. I moved the whole thing to the bottom and made it to the 3rd power. Then I took that 3rd power and brought it to everything in that parentheses. Then I simplified here by combining, and then I had a negative exponent that needed to move to the top. Okay, that's it on that one. All right, another couple of examples. All right, so this one, lots of negative exponents in there. So first of all, negative 12 over 2. negative 12 over 2 is negative 6. Okay, so that can be negative 6. Now, on the top, I have t to the negative 1, that needs to go to the bottom. X to the negative 4 needs to go to the bottom. So this goes to the bottom, and this goes to the bottom. Alright, so I know I have t to the first and x to the fourth. Now, and then that u to the fifth stays on the top. Okay, I think that's u to the fifth. Let me, where's my eraser? Yeah, u to the fifth. Okay, so, and then that t to the negative 1 needs to move to the bottom to become t to the first. Oh, I already moved that, sorry. T to the negative 3 on the bottom needs to become t to the third on the top. Okay, this is where I was. T to the negative 3 becomes t to the third. The u and x to the fifth stay where they are. Okay, now I simplify. I have a t cubed and a t, so that becomes t squared on the top. I have a u to the fifth and a u becomes u to the fourth on the top. So on the top I have negative 6, u to the fourth, and t squared. On the bottom, x to the fourth times x to the fifth, 4 plus 5 is x to the ninth. So these are using all sorts of rules all in one. Alright, next problem. I'm going to simplify what is on the inside first. So x to the third and x to the fourth becomes 1x on the bottom. Y squared and y, 2 minus 1 becomes 1y on the top. And then z to the negative 2 moves to the top. Z times z squared is z to the third. So I have 2yz cubed all over 3x. I have to carry that to the negative 2. The negative means I'm going to flip it, become 3x over 2yz to the third, all of that squared, and now I square everything. 3 squared is 9, x squared. 2 squared is 4, y squared, and z to the third squared, that's power to a power. 3 times 2 is z to the sixth. And there are lots of examples. So, next, you have your U-tries. Okay, go ahead and try those, and then we will go over them tomorrow.